past where I've broken my...
What's going on, everybody? It's Alex Hurt here, and today we're going to talk about how to break a fast while you're intermittent fasting. We're first going to dive into what breaks a fast in the first place. We're going to talk about what you should and what you shouldn't eat when you break a fast. We'll go into a little bit of what you should expect after you break your fast, and then lastly, we'll dive into supplementation as you're breaking your fast, because that's very important. Now, if you guys are new, I talk about fasting and biohacking and general health and well-being on this channel. So if you like that type of content, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you can get notification every time I put out a new video, okay? All right, now let's get right into it. First off, let's talk about what breaks a fast in the first place. So fasting obviously is just going some period of time without eating any food. I mean, you do this every day, whether you realize it or not. You go to bed, you're not eating anything when you sleep, and then you have breakfast or break fast. So when you eat food, you're breaking a fast. Now, there's some people who will tell you that you can have, you know, maybe 35 or 60 calories at a time and not actually break your fast. I would tend to disagree, or at least recommend against that. You're going to have much more potent benefits of fasting if you just go the whole time without having any calories whatsoever. You know, only drinking water, maybe some black tea, maybe some tea or something like that with no cream or sugar, no sweeteners. That's when you're going to really see the most potent effects of fasting, at least in my experience. And artificial sweeteners are kind of a topic of debate among fasters. There have been some studies that have found that artificial sweeteners have no effect on fasting at all. And some other studies have found that artificial sweeteners actually raise your insulin right after you consume them. There's actually two phases to insulin secretion. There's the initial phase, which happens right after you taste something, especially something sweet. You get this initial spike of insulin, and then once the carbohydrates or the sugar hits your stomach and actually begins to enter your bloodstream, then you get a secondary spike of insulin. So if you have an artificial sweetener, you're going to get that initial spike of insulin. You won't break your fast from a caloric standpoint, but you will get that initial spike of insulin, which, if you're fasting for hormonal health or metabolic health, could be not ideal. So I would recommend against artificial sweeteners, just, you know, drinking some water, maybe black coffee, maybe tea, but, you know, cut out the Diet Coke, the Diet Dr. Pepper and stuff like that. Yeah, just go for water. That's my opinion. So next we'll talk about what you should eat to break a fast. Now, in general, the longer you go in your fast, the easier what you eat should be to digest. So let me elaborate a little bit on that. When I say easy to digest, I mean something that's like liquid, something softer, you know, maybe a broth or a soup or something soft like cheese. Those are all things that are really easy for you to digest. And if you've been going a long time without eating, say maybe 16 or 18, maybe even 20 hours into your fast, if you have something really, really hard to digest, like a fibrous vegetable, like you know, raw broccoli or something like that, that's going to be really hard for you to digest. Some people have even said that nuts and seeds can be hard to digest after a long fast. So if you've been fasting for, let's say, anywhere 14 hours, 16 hours plus, I'd recommend that you break your fast with something easy. You know, something like broth or soup, just to kind of reacclimate your stomach and your gut to food again. And for me, I like to start with the healthier foods when I'm breaking my fast and sort of work into the tastier, maybe not as healthy foods later on. I found that if I break my fast with something really tasty like carbohydrates right off the bat, I'm less motivated to have the healthy foods afterward, because you know, I haven't eaten for a long time, and the first thing I put in my mouth is, you know, some bread or especially like carbohydrates mixed with fat that's hyper palatable, and I'm just less likely to have something healthy after that. Now, that's what you should eat when you break your fast, and there are some things that you definitely should not eat as you're breaking your fast. And these are things like processed carbohydrates and sugar. definitely shouldn't break your fast with sugar. That's going to spike your insulin really bad. Um, you might even get jitters, especially if you've been fasting for a long time. You throw a bunch of sugar into your system, you might get a little bit shaky. Uncooked fibrous vegetables, we talked about raw broccoli. Those types of foods are just hard to digest in general because there's a lot of fiber, and fiber doesn't digest super easily, and you could experience a little bit of gastrointestinal distress. Alcohol is definitely out of the question. I've actually done that in the past where I've broken my fast just with alcohol. Like I think I had a Bud Light or something like that, a couple beers after a long fast, and you get tipsy much faster, but it doesn't feel good afterwards. So I definitely recommend against that. Don't break your fast with alcohol. And again, I mentioned that some people have issues with, nuts, seeds, and some people have even said that red meats kind of give them some stomach upset if they break their fast with that. So definitely go towards the easier to digest foods, the healthier foods, right as you break your fast. And let's say maybe about an hour afterward, you can probably eat whatever you want at that point, but break your fast with something easy. So after you break your fast, if your fast was really long, something that I've experienced is that you might have a little bit lower energy, a little bit of lethargy, or lower focus. And my explanation for this is just that all the energy, if you haven't been eating for a long time, your digestion system isn't really working super hard, and then you put a bunch of food in there, and all of a sudden energy is diverted into your digestion system to process the food and distribute it throughout your body. So right as you break your fast, you might experience a little bit lower focus, and like I mentioned before, after about an hour you should be able to eat almost whatever you want. Obviously go for the healthier foods. Don't break your fast with soup and then have a cheeseburger. That's probably not a good idea. But after about an hour, your digestion system is kind of geared back up again, and you can go ahead and eat your regular foods. So lastly, we'll talk about supplementation as you're breaking your fast. So after you haven't eaten for a long time, when you initially break your fast, your body's going to be really ready to absorb nutrients. It hasn't had any food, any micronutrients for a long time, so right as you break your fast, your body is going to absorb whatever you put down there really, really quickly. So if you take some type of supplement, I take it's kind of a proprietary blend type of supplement. It's called Protandem, but I like to take that supplement either right as I'm breaking my fast or right at the end of my eating window, and sometimes I'll do both. Protandem's really good to reduce inflammation. It's also a really potent detox supplement. It's got turmeric in it, milk thistle, a bunch of other stuff, but if you are supplementing with something like a multivitamin, I would recommend that you take that right as you're breaking your fast, or maybe even right beforehand, so that your body can absorb those nutrients super quickly, right when that nutrient absorption window is at its highest. And you'll get the most benefit out of your supplement if you do it that way. So guys, that's basically my guide for how to break your fast while you're intermittent fasting. We talked about what breaks a fast. Basically any food. Some people have said lower than 60 calories is fine. I would recommend just water or black coffee, maybe tea. We talked about what you should and shouldn't eat while you're breaking your fast. Something easy to digest is a good idea, like broth or soup. Steer away from alcohol, fibrous vegetables, processed carbohydrates, and sugar. After you break your fast, you might experience a little bit of lethargy, a little bit of lower energy, just because of the energy being diverted back into digestion. And lastly, we talked about supplementation. While you're breaking your fast, nutrient absorption is going to be much higher during that initial period right after you break your fast. So if you're supplementing, go ahead and take your supplement right before you break your fast or right as you're breaking your fast, and you're going to have the best nutrient absorption during that time. Alright guys, well that's it for this video. Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so that you can get notified when I put out a new video. And go ahead and watch my what, when, and how to eat while you're fasting guide. I'll link that down below or over here, I'm not sure. But that's going to be a huge guide on everything you need to know for eating while you're intermittent fasting or prolonged fasting, okay? Alright, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.